Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, January 1st, 2020. Happy New Year, everyone. I can't believe I've come this far on my channel to get to, I guess, the actual election year that I made this channel to focus on. 2020 is finally here. So I know I said I would wait a little bit on the Democratic candidate versus Donald Trump election predictions, but I've decided to dive right into the new year with the #1 Democratic candidate right now, Vice President Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. And I actually haven't done a video on Joe Biden's chances against Donald Trump since 5 months ago. 5 months ago, I made a video where I analyzed a Joe Biden, Donald Trump presidential matchup. Now, I've definitely done videos with Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders a little bit more recently, so I'm not so sure why I haven't done a Joe Biden video, considering that he's been leading throughout the entire campaign season. But again, I am ecstatic to, I guess, realize that I'm actually here. We're about to witness the 2020 election, and however that goes is however it goes. To be honest, I'm not going to be too upset if either candidate in this scenario wins or any of the other scenarios, because, again, I've learned through this channel to accept all types of political views. Though I may have my own, the elections are still going to continue and the world will move on the next day. So it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not supporting a certain candidate, but I'm not going to be super angry at the outcome, just because I've learned to respect different outcomes in years past, just based off me having this channel through ups and downs, throughout witnessing things live and you guys seeing me do it live. But I probably won't do a live stream for election night 2020. But sorry for talking so much. Let's go ahead and dive into this. I'm just really happy that we're finally here, and we're going to be witnessing the Iowa caucus very soon. I mean, that's going to be great, just to go ahead and focus on what actually is going to start dignifying how many delegates each candidate is going to get. I mean, it's going to be crazy now that we actually are going to have more than just polling data. And I remember looking back at the 2016 Democratic primary and the 2016 Republican primary, saying, well, this is pretty interesting. I wonder how it's going to go, assuming that Hillary Clinton wins, which I did think that she was going to win early on in 2016, I guess around this time period, I would have said. That's just mainly because the mainstream media was my main source of information. I was also in middle school, but I don't want to give you guys know pretty much how old I am, most of you guys at least. But yeah, so I'm in high school, by the way. But that was the last time I actually experienced a primary season. I remember Maryland, April 26th. We had off school that day, and I was like, cool. So I went to the polling station with my parents. I also did on election day as well, and in 2008 and 2012. So my civic duty without actually voting. But besides that point, pretty much this election has been something that has dominated a lot of my life for the past 3 years. Also, by the way, I'm using the light themed. I know if you're watching this on low brightness because it's so bright, I'm sorry. I just wanted to try something new. If you guys want me to revert back to this theme, I'm completely fine doing that. But right now I'm using, not the default. I'm using the white theme, but the default theme isn't too bad either. It looks kind of nice. But let's go ahead and just go back into that. This one replicates to 70, so I decided to start off the year just doing that. But yeah, so I have filled in all of the quote-unquote safe Republican states. Let's go ahead, and the safe Democratic states. Okay, so Alaska, I was like, it always goes up to 125. But pretty much same generic safe battleground states, not battleground states, safe states that we've seen every election season. I think all of these states have voted the same way since 2000, except for Indiana and New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. I believe so. Yeah, so New Mexico and Indiana are the only ones that have not voted the same way since the year 2000. But that puts Donald Trump 125, Joe Biden 188. Let's take a look at some areas where I believe will be pretty solid for the president. So Texas, obviously, I think this one's going to be a likely margin. It's still a win, still 38 electoral votes. It was a likely margin in 2016. It's definitely going to be closer this time around, regardless of who the Dem is. And, Joe Biden, he's definitely going to have better work on his side campaigning down in Texas. It could end up in the lean margin at 4 to 5%, but right now I'm thinking it's going to peak 5-6% for President Trump. But it's still 38 electoral votes. The margin does not matter at the end of the day. All of the electors go, even if you win by only one vote. So it's not really going to matter that much, especially since he wouldn't be running for re-election if he wins. But that puts Trump at 163. Another state that I think Donald Trump might do a little bit better in is the state of Georgia. Now, that one I'm going to actually put in the lean column. I don't think there's going to be any more likely Republican states or districts. So Georgia, I'm going to start straight off the bat as a lean Donald Trump state. We'll talk about some of the other swing states, but Georgia has a Republican history. Yes, it has been getting closer, and Joe Biden will do well amongst African-American voters, the same way Hillary Clinton did. He may actually be able to appeal to a little bit more Republican crossover, but probably not enough to flip the state of Georgia. But he's still going to have, I believe, a closer margin than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. But for Joe Biden, I do expect victories in Colorado and Virginia by likely margins. Same thing in Minnesota and New Hampshire. Donald Trump is just practically underwater in all four of those states. He didn't win any of them in 2016 either, so it's not exactly like he was going to hold on to these states if he was to win in 2020, nor does he need the states. But I think those states are going to be likely for the Democratic Party, putting Joe Biden at 224 electoral votes and Donald Trump at 179. Another area where I think that Joe Biden is going to do well, and I think Maine at large will be a likely vote, mainly because Joe Biden definitely is going to be able to hold on to Democratic voters better than Hillary Clinton and definitely be able to appeal to independents better. Hillary Clinton, which is just so unpopular nationwide, you're not really seeing that unpopularity for Joe Biden. It may seem that Donald Trump is attacking him directly, but Donald Trump is also attacking a lot of other candidates as well. But right now, it looks like Joe Biden is more popular than Hillary Clinton. Actually, he is, just based off the numbers. So that's definitely going to be something that the Republican Party can't use as, I guess, a way to bring down Joe Biden, because he's not going to be this unfavorable, scandal-ridden candidate. Yes, he has the whole thing with Ukraine and his son, but that's pretty much it. A couple people call him creepy, but other than that, it's not like he was being bombarded every day in the new news cycle with something new coming out from WikiLeaks or a hack of the DNC or supposed Russian involvement. But right now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these other states that are currently up for grabs. Nebraska's 2nd district, I do expect Donald Trump to win there by a lean margin. That one I never really expected to do too well for Joe Biden or any Democrat except for maybe Bernie Sanders. Going over to Pennsylvania, I would actually say Pennsylvania is a likely margin. I don't exactly see it being under 5% with Joe Biden. He was born in the state of Pennsylvania. He was one of the reasons why Obama had a crucial victory there in 2008. So I would actually say Virginia would be a likely state for Joe Biden, and that officially puts him past 232 electoral votes, which was Hillary Clinton's number in 2016, 227 if you're being technical. But that leaves the two other Rust Belt states up for grabs. We're going to focus down on the South just a little bit so we can go ahead and get that one out of the way. North Carolina, I think this one actually be a tilt. I do think that Joe Biden is going to be able to bring over more African-American voters, especially which he will get if he is the nominee in Obama endorsement. And I do think that the stakes are definitely a lot higher for Democrats here. Georgia may not have the same effect because a lot of the reason for the crossover vote there was because they did not like President Trump. But in North Carolina, it's just always been a swing state. Even though it has historically gone for the Republican Party, it's still been within a narrow margin. But I do think that North Carolina will still end up going for President Trump, but I do think that it will be narrower. I do think Joe Biden has a pretty strong appeal here. I couldn't say the same for the state of Florida. I do expect this one to go to Donald Trump by 1 to 2%. Yes, the Republican Party barely held on by a thread, but they held on in 2018. They also won it in 2016. And generally, polling data actually underestimates the Democrats here. Well, it did in 2012. Mitt Romney was supposed to win the state by 3%, and then Obama ended up winning it. In 2016, it did predict a Trump victory, and I think he actually won by around the same margin. But I still expect Florida to be a Donald Trump state as of right now. The data may not align with that prediction. This is not a polling-based video, so my own intuition tells me that I believe Florida will go to the Republican Party. As for Maine's 2nd District, I expect a narrow victory for President Trump. I'm going to go ahead and say tilt just for right now. I don't see Donald Trump having a blowout like he did in 2016. That was mainly, again, because of Hillary Clinton. Don't see that happening this time around. But 225 for Donald Trump, 246 for Vice President Biden. Let's go ahead and take a look at the West. Nevada, I could actually see it was previously a likely state. I'm going to move it into the lean column right now. Joe Biden, yes, he does have some support amongst Democrats here, but he's going to need to hold on to all of them. And I do think that Donald Trump might be able to convince more of the electorate. I do think Joe Biden is going to choose a white man or woman as a vice presidential candidate. So I don't think he's going to have that Hispanic appeal. Let's say if Hillary Clinton had chose Julian Castro in 2016, but she had won the state in 2016. I expect Joe Biden to do the same, but probably around 4 or 5%, which still characterized as lean. If you're wondering how that goes, lean is 1 to 5, likely is 5 to 15, and safe is 15 plus. So I don't really want to be characterizing 10 to a plus to be safe, because again, things can fluctuate pretty drastically based off of that margin, which is really interesting to me. Iowa and Ohio, I expect to be lean GOP states. Donald Trump has done well here in the past, did well here in 2016, almost won Ohio by double digits. I believe he did win Iowa narrowly by double digits. In fact, Iowa went more for Donald Trump than Texas for comparison, but also Iowa and Ohio really did not like Hillary Clinton. A lot of the whole politics back then was just the candidate being her, and that was a really big turnoff for a number of voters nationwide. So I'm actually going to characterize both of those states as Republican states. As for Michigan, I think that Joe Biden is going to carry Michigan by a likely margin, and also Wisconsin. And that officially makes Joe Biden the next president of the United States. But at the same time, if you take a look at Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is not liked whatsoever. Approval rating is abysmal. Data agrees with me on this point. If you take a look at data trends, and if you take a look at the elections prior to 2016, it looked like the 3 Rust Belt states are an anomaly. If you remember, Indiana was a Democratic state 12 years ago. Okay, so and then it drastically turned back to Mitt Romney in 2012, and then even more, obviously, with Mike Pence and Donald Trump being a more hard-leaning conservative in Indiana. So, again, that could be a possibility for the Rust Belt states, but I still think that they are definitely in play. Donald Trump definitely can win them, but I do think that Joe Biden is going to do very well against Donald Trump in this prediction. And then as for the state of Arizona, this one has had a lot of, contention in recent history. 2016 was the first time it was considered a swing state at the presidential level. It was very, very close in compared to where it should have been. I mean, it's Arizona. It was a Republican state. Donald Trump won it, I believe, by a lean margin, I think 4-5%. 2018, they elected a Democrat to the United States Senate, and they do have a very interesting Senate race coming up, which might actually go to the Democrats again, because the Republican who lost in 2018 is on the ballot again this time in 2020. But Arizona, I do expect Joe Biden to narrowly gain a victory here. The shift in electoral vote, not the numbers obviously, but in terms of the way the electorate votes, has definitely been way more in favor of the Democratic Party, and I do expect them to carry Arizona right around here. So this is my most recent election prediction in terms of where I showed my reasoning for them. In a video, I believe, a little while ago, I made an election night where I gave Joe Biden Iowa and Ohio. I'm going to move those back. I took a look at the numbers. The approval rating definitely looks so bad for Donald Trump here, but that also has to do with the way that, I guess, the rural part of the state looks at him, and also the white working class. But when it comes down to Election Day, if you take a look at the swing from the actual predicted based off the polling data, it was supposed to be a 3-point margin of victory in both of these states, and it swung by 6, even 7% in Iowa's case in favor of the president. And if you throw those numbers in based off what we're seeing in terms of data between Biden and Trump, and also the approval rating, it's still going to end up being a lean victory for President Trump. But those states definitely could fluctuate, same as Arizona or Nevada or North Carolina. Pretty much any state that isn't solid is definitely in play as of right now. But this is how I think it would go down if the election was held today. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.